Everybody's actually showed up. This is good. It's almost 10 after. We're ready to go?
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair, we're ready.
If that's the case. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We call this meeting to order. This is the North Miami Planning Commission meeting on Tuesday, March the 4th, 2014 at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call of board members, please.
Kevin Seifert.
Present.
Charles Ernst.
Present.
Kenny Each.
Present.
Gene Castor.
Present.
Jason James.
Present.
Bill Prevotel.
Present.
Any amendments to the agenda tonight?
No amendments, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you very much. Then we'll move to get the minutes approved. Do we hear a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Kenny Each, seconded by Bill Prevotel. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. All right. Yes, Madam Secretary, Brittany, the minutes are there. All right, we have no communications. We have no public hearings that have been continued from our last session. Therefore, we go to item 5, public hearing PC 03-14. This is an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 29 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances entitled Land Development Regulations, specifically at Article 4 entitled Development Standards, to include a new Division 22 entitled Distance Requirement for certain retail uses to mitigate the proliferation of specific retail uses, specifically as it applies to the downtown commercial corridor, and to encourage a more diverse and productive business environment as envisioned in the City of North Miami Downtown Master Development and Major Corridor Plan, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and for an effective date. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Tanya Wilson Sejour with Community Planning and Development. Staff recommendation is that the Planning Commission approves the proposed ordinance to amend Article 5 of the city's land development regulations to create Division 22, Section 5-2201, to establish a distance requirement for certain retail uses in the C3 district and forward said ordinance to City Council for final consideration. Just to read the staff report into record, the background information on this. On May 28, 2013, the Mayor and Council approved Resolution R-2013-55, adopting the city's downtown master development and major corridors plan to serve as an urban design and architectural guide for future development and redevelopment within the city's downtown. As part of the process, a retail gap analysis was conducted to determine the demand and supply of certain retail uses within a 1 to 5 mile radius within the downtown core. The results reveal a demand of certain retail uses within the downtown, such as clothing, books, and home furnishing stores, to name a few. However, the results also reveal the excess supply or proliferation of certain retail uses located within the downtown. Exhibit 1 attached includes a detailed geographic information system map showing the downtown areas and the distribution of certain uses, such as beauty salons, tax preparation services within the downtown area. The map shows over 34 beauty salons and 15 tax preparation businesses being located within the city's downtown. It should be noted that the proliferation of such uses may stagnate the market and hinder the creation of other viable retail uses that are in higher demand within the city's downtown. The master plan recommends that the city review its current land use and zoning regulations to identify limitations in order to encourage a more diverse supply of uses that are in demand and able to attract a more regional customer base to the city's downtown area. The proposed ordinance seeks to regulate the location of hair salons, barber shops, convenience stores, and tax preparation businesses in order to prevent the saturation and proliferation of such uses within the C3 zoned downtown area, and to create a more balanced use of limited commercial zoning within the central core of the city. If approved, the proposed regulation would establish a distance separation of at least 1,500 feet between the aforementioned uses in order to limit the presence of such overabundant uses in the downtown area and to foster an environment where people can live, work, shop, and invest. As the board is aware, any request for text amendments to the land development regulation must be consistent with Section 3-1004 of the LDR. And as outlined in the staff report, staff has provided analysis here. The first criteria requires that it promote the public health, safety, and welfare. The second criteria says it does not permit uses the comprehensive land use plan prohibits in the area affected by the zoning map change or text amendment in this case. It does not allow densities and intensities in excess of the densities and intensities which are permitted by the future land use category. The fourth criteria says it will not cause a decline in the level of service for public infrastructure. Fifth criteria says it doesn't directly conflict with any goal, objective, or policy of the comprehensive land use plan. And the sixth says the proposed amendment furthers the orderly development of the city of North Miami. As outlined in the staff report, staff is recommending approval of this text amendment tonight, and we've outlined that there are concerns within the downtown area based on the master plan that was recently done for North Miami back in May of 2013. It shows that there's an excess of certain types of uses in our downtown, and as the board is aware, there is an initiative to redevelop the city's downtown, and staff believes that with this text amendment, it will help to hinder some of the undesirable uses that we've determined are in excess in the downtown, and in turn attract more viable uses that the master plan is showing that would be lucrative in our downtown. So at this time, staff is recommending approval of the items and is available for any questions the board may have at this time.
All right. Any member of the commission have any questions for staff at this point?
The current businesses that are there now, would they be grandfathered in, or they would be?
Correct. The current businesses would be grandfathered, and the text amendment would immediately apply to any new businesses that would be trying to locate within the downtown in the C3 district that fall under these categories that we're limiting.
My question would be now, the building owners that lease the property, they follow the guidelines. They're responsible just as much as the tenants who wish to move in there, correct?
Correct.
They can't ask for a variance. The person coming in would have to ask for the variance should they request one, or if the situation arose that they wanted to insist on putting that particular business in there. Let's just say a barber shop or a hair salon or a tax refund center. So therefore, there's still a process that they could indeed take it to a zoning board for variance, correct?
It would be no different than the current uses which fall under other uses within the city that require a distance requirement. I'll give you an example. Bars,
Right.
pawn shops, gun shops, all those uses have their own particular distance requirement. This will be no different.
Right, okay. So it all falls in line to the similar restrictions or code standards that we currently have.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Just to clarify, they will be on a case-by-case basis. They can't come and apply for variance. And would it come to the planning commission or is it a board of adjustments?
That would be a board of adjustment. Variances, special exceptions will come before they will come in and apply, and all that discovery and diligence will be conducted by the city at the time that the applicant obtains a certificate of use. At that point, then they will be directed to go and apply for the particular variance
Okay.
as may be required.
And let's say someone owns the building. Are they required to tell an incoming tenant about these limitations on uses before they enter into a lease agreement?
I think the quickest and easiest way to regulate is when a certificate of use is requested. For each business in North Miami, you're required to pull a certificate of use that comes through our office, and at that time we'll be able to apply the distance separation to measure whether or not they're within that 1,500 feet.
But let's say I come in with let's say I enter into a lease with an owner, and the owner knows that, you know, a hair salon isn't allowed, and I don't know that as, you know, up and coming business owner or future business owner, and I enter into a lease before I apply for my certificate of occupancy, would I pretty much be stuck into that lease without being able to use that business? Or
Well, that would be a code violation because the certificate of use is a prerequisite of opening up any business. Also, you would have to come in and obtain a business tax receipt, which at that point, so there are various mechanisms already in place that will, the city will discover the prohibited use and then will afford the applicant the opportunity to come in and properly obtain a variance
I see.
for the particular use. And I think that there was an issue or concern about the property owner. Since variances do run with the land, it does require consent by the property owner. So part of the application process requires cooperation by the property owner.
So, again, the property owner's name would also appear on any variance request along with that tenant.
The variance
He's
actually appears on the, is recorded against the property owner's property. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Prevotell, any questions?
This will likely pass, but I just wanted to share a thought on the matter. It's known in like retail investment with malls and such that when you have too many shoe stores, it's a bad sign for the mall, and they sometimes refer to as Boot Hill, and it's that this place is going to go down in a short period of time. It's financially insolvent to some degree. And I wonder if we're sort of declaring that the barbershops, beauty salons, tax preparation places are of a similar nature, and that might be the case. And we're going to take steps to try to make adjustments there. But I really wonder if our problem, if we go back a couple years, I think we would just about be begging anybody, I don't care what they sell or do, to come into our multitude of vacant space throughout the city. We're just really fortunate that it started to fill up. We don't have the vacancies, and maybe it was even occupied by some of these groups. But sort of a bottom observation is maybe it's not that we have too many tax preparation, too many beauty salons or barbershops. Maybe it's that we're missing everything else. Maybe we're missing quality demand here in the city, and we really need to work on that. You know, and that should be our focus. We may put up some barrier to these type of people, but we really need to bring in, you know, better businesses, more varied businesses, and make the city more attractive. So just a thought as we go to the vote.
Well, first we need to open the public hearing at this time. Any member of the public wishing to speak to this proposed ordinance is welcome to step forwards. Please state your name and address for the microphone and give us your particular insight or wisdom on this. And I see no rising cloud of dust. I hear no thundering herd. We call once again for the public hearing, and again we are met with silence. And on the third call, the public hearing is closed. All right, chair calls for motion.
I would say move.
All three of you. Well, one of you will be fine.
I would say move for approval.
All right, Mr. Castor moves for approval. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Each. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Now we move to PC 04-14, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting the 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2013-2014 through 2017-2018, based upon the recommendations of the Planning Commission, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is being brought to you by the Office of Budget Management, and I'm going to read the recommendation into the record, and then our budget manager is going to come forward with a brief presentation to provide an overview as to what the request is before you. The recommendation, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the proposed capital improvement program plan for fiscal years 2014 to 2018.
All right, well, at this time, since we're going to be having the department heads making presentations, we're going to, at the same time, open the public hearing so that if a member of the public wishes to provide input or ask a question after the department head has spoken, they will be free to do so. So, public hearing is open. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm speaking on behalf of the budget, Office of Management and Budget.
State your name.
Arthur Sorey, Budget Manager, City of North Miami. We're bringing forward today this capital improvement plan. Just a couple things. It's important to note that the first year it's very important that this has to be funded in the budget. So anything listed under 1314 is not a wish list like it's been in the past. Anything under 1314 is funded in this year's budget. The years out is reasonable funding sources for the following year, 14-15. So we do find that it is a reasonable funding source that it should be able to be funded. Now, again, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be funded by the mayor and council. This is just our envision for the future. And this document actually puts us in good standing if any grants or anything should come available, that we do have a document in place, a 5-year capital plan in place to say this is where we're moving to in the future. So that's the purpose of this document.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
That's it. I mean, if we're
That's it
here
on
to-
your part.
That's
All
it on my
right.
part.
Would
Mr.
you
Chair.
like to perhaps introduce the other department heads and allow them to?
Certainly. I know in the past you've allowed each of the departments to go page by page. Is that the chair's desire tonight
Well, let's
to
explain
follow
the,
that
the,
order?
the two options for the benefit of all present and the members of the commission. We can adopt the capital plan as submitted without discussion or input, or we can allow the staff to give us an overview of their segment of this capital budget. And the final option, of course, is to take each single line item for item, and that would likely take us a good part of the evening. So I would be very happy to allow each department head that's present to introduce themselves and give us a summary of what their department is doing. And then if there's a question that needs further examination, we can proceed. If not, every department head will get an opportunity to address us, and then we can, if there's no other speakers, close the public hearing and hopefully take a vote. Yes.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, on your procedure. And for instance, if the Parks and Recreation Department head can go over, give us a page number that you're briefly going to give us an update on or a brief presentation on so we can follow it. Because I know that I think they're kind of separated throughout the book. So as you do, if they could do each of their grouping together, that'll save us some time also. And then direct the page number for us to follow along. Is that fair, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, that's fair. All right, that's quite fair. We accept that. Thank you. Now, who's first?
We'll do Parks and Recreation first.
Parks and Rec is first. What page do we start on?
Probably work together. Page 19.
Page 19. All right, let's get
You're
to
on
19
19
and see what
and
we've got.
I see page 10.
Page
Page
4
10.
groups it in categories.
Page
Oh,
10.
Page 10.
Bay Shore Park.
Good evening, council.
Okay.
Derek Corker, Parks and Rec Manager for the City of North Miami. On page 10, you will find North Bay Shore Park, Progress 2013. This is the replacement of the North Bay Shore Pier.
Something that's been talked about for years.
Yes, sir.
And years and years ad infinitum.
Absolutely, and this year we will be coming to
We're
fruition.
actually going to do this.
Absolutely. We have...
You know when I'll show up with my camera. Okay?
Me and you both. We have $300,000 from a grant, defined grant, which is the Florida Inland Navigational Division that we received this year. And it's a matching grant, so we, the city, are matching $300,000. We have submitted. It's been out for bid. Bid closed today, actually, around 3:30. Hopefully tomorrow we will find how many applicants actually applied and submitted a proposal for the work at North Bay Shore Park.
Very nice, thank
but
you.
we are definitely hopeful for, good
Good.
turnout this year.
All right, next item, library.
Page, I'm going to stick with Parks and Rec unless you
Okay.
want us to go
So
individual
then,
groups. Okay. Page 19,
19, all right.
court resurfacing. That will be, this year, we are resurfacing our Pepper Park tennis facility. It is getting a major overhaul. We're resurfacing the courts, 12 hard courts, poles, netting, windscreen, shade structure, and we're adding a water fountain that has not been there. So we're adding a water fountain to the facility.
Oh, very good.
Which one, I'm sorry?
Pepper Park Tennis. Currently, we are in the process of almost completion of that project. I expect that we will have a ribbon cutting for that particular project on March the 15th, which is a Saturday,
Oh, very good.
at 10:30 a.m. I invite you all to come out and attend.
Staff, send us an email on that. All right, if you can.
Mr. Chair, as a point of order, if I may, Mr. Corker, there's an item that I believe you have on page 14. Just in the event believe we skipped it. It's the Sans Souci alleyway wall.
That actually, it's budgeted under Parks and Recreation, but it should be Public Works.
Okay.
Public Works now falls, during our reorganization, some of the stuff falls under that
So it's a
division
Public
also.
Works, okay,
Yeah.
thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for the clarification.
We can accept that, that's easy. All right, sir, next item briefly.
Page 20, Rux Park Development. This is a project that we are looking forward to starting this year. We have funding from Miami-Dade County through the GOB, and this is it was the old water station? The old water station that was located off of 137th and Northeast 5th Ave. We have also, we're ready for a design bill to be sent out as a bid doc. We're working on packaging that currently, and I think that should be out within before the next
Well, it
quarter.
sounds like $4,200,000 should buy an interesting array of facilities. Just an overview of what you're going to build.
Absolutely. The amenities that we are currently looking at is a splash pad that will give us a little water, not a pool per se, but a splash pad that can be used for the community. Multi-purpose field, basketball courts, a multi-purpose facility that can be dual use, rental, or activities, karate, chess
Community
clubs,
center.
community center, correct, and parking lot.
All right, very good. Question? Yes.
There were environmental questions at this site. Can you give us an update on the remediation efforts there and how this will affect
I would
this plan
defer,
from going forward?
absolutely, I would defer that to our Public Works Director, as he's been handling that issue.
All right, sir, state your name.
Aleem Ghani, Public Works Director.
Okay, yes, we can hear you, even if that's not working.
We're in the process of actually working with Miami-Dade County Public Works, getting permission to actually put some monitoring wells within some easements adjacent or abutting the property. We're working with the City Attorney's Office at present and Miami-Dade County Public Works. I believe this is the last hurdle that Durham or RERA has requested from the city to actually proceed with the project. We do have what is called an environmental engineering control plan to mitigate some of the contaminants on the site, which requires installation of monitoring wells to actually mitigate any sort of migration of contaminants or plumes off the site. And this is the reason why we are researching whether there's any easements off the site. We did find some easements abutting the adjacent properties, and we are moving forward with the installation of monitoring wells so we could further, do any calculations on the plumes or the migration of the contaminants off-site.
All right, one question on that. The contaminants, how far below the surface are they?
Well, there's a multitude of contaminants at present, but we are looking at ammonia. We are looking at fecal coliforms, and the one of concern right now is the ammonia and the migration. Arsenic. We also had high levels of arsenic present on the surface, and also some of it is leaching into the groundwater. The whole reason why we are looking at doing some sort of engineering control plan is to actually prevent some of the migration and install some wells so we could start the process of cleanup.
Well, I can appreciate stopping the migration, but I would have to say I would be concerned that we want people walking on that surface.
Children playing.
Yes, children playing. That would sound rather dangerous to me.
Well, again, it's similar to what Miami-Dade is actually finding in most of their parks right now. We have ammonia, which is, most of it is actually, when you aerate the water, is similar to what we have at Biscayne Landings, where the process is aeration. Where if you have an aerated system, you actually get the volatile organics out. With the arsenic, what is planned is actually capping the site with a 2-foot cap, which is a generally considered engineering control plan throughout Miami-Dade County that is allowed.
Yes, well, of course, City of Miami has had quite a number of their parks closed, and I presume they were probably at some point in their development capped as well. So how long is this 2-foot cap forecast to last?
Well, again, as long as the capping is not broken, when I say broken, as long as there's no construction and the cap is not disturbed, then we should not have any problems. The idea is actually to prevent any additional water or surface water from getting into the groundwater, which increases the contamination levels. So reduction of the volume of water getting into the ground will prevent that.
Do we cover this first with some kind of compacted gravel and then lay the 2 feet above it, or do we just dump in clean fill?
No, actually the area is clean and there's a lining material, and then you come up with the clean.
So we
It is
line it much like you would with a garbage dump.
correct. Actually, you do have an engineering control plan approved by the regulatory agencies in Miami-Dade County.
Okay, all right, I understand what you're saying. Okay, that's good. Questions?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
My question, though, is now we are, in fact, starting to spend dollars on buying the equipment and everything, or is that on hold?
No.
Nothing has been, we haven't started.
As Mr. Coker
expenditures.
said in the beginning, we're in the process. This project actually was out for bid, and due to some of the questions that came back from the proposed bidders, there were a lot of concerns or questions surrounding the environmental issues on site.
There were, yes.
And subsequently, what we did is we sort of got with Miami-Dade County Durham. We actually found out what are the requirements, or sort of pinpointed what exactly would be required to move this project forward, since it's GOB funded, which is a general obligation bond. Since then, we have also contracted with a consultant to assist us with the negotiations so we can move this environmental properties of the site and move the project forward, sir.
So essentially, you're going to cover this ground with some kind of membrane,
Correct.
and then add 2 feet of dirt on top of
2
that.
feet of clean fill, yes.
And then you'll start breaking through for construction.
Well, the construction that we plan over there is most of the construction planned with the amenities, as Mr. Coker has spoken about, is going to be placed above that. And one of the requirements for the development of the site is actually it is going to be built above the base flood elevation, which is one of the city's building code criteria, where everything that is going to be built must be built above the base flood or the BFE. I believe the BFE for that site is around 8 feet. The present elevations is around 5. So you're still looking at about a 3-foot elevation in order to start building anything, which is the spray park, any amenity structures, any sort of structures pertaining to the park system.
You're going to have more than 2 feet
No-
of fill there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And there's also going to be controls with the stormwater system that is designed. They're all going to be lined. They're going to be monitored. As I said, there's going to be not only one or two, there's going to be clusters of monitoring wells surrounding the site. So we will be monitoring the site on a monthly basis per Miami-Dade County.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ghani. Next question.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, to follow up, that facility development, that's the cost now that you're estimating $4,500,000 for just remediation?
No, actually, there's a 500,000 allocation for the design and also part of the environmental monitoring that is required by DERM to be installed.
The $500,000.
The 500,000,
Where, but for the fiscal 13-14 year, the facility development's $4,200,000. Any part of that going toward remediation?
There has been conversation with Miami-Dade County that we could utilize some of the funds for remediation of the site. And I think that's when we met with Mr. Frank Bogle.
from Frank Barriga.
I'm sorry.
So
from Miami-Dade
then
County.
it's safe to say that the budget proposal does not include the actual cost of remediation.
That is something we are negotiating right now with the county. Since it's a general obligation bond, staff is actually looking into whether the bond will cover portions of the remediation. One of the things that you need to consider is because of the flood criteria we have for the site, we still have to build up the site, whether it's a contaminated site or not. So whether it was clean fill or clean area that we are going to develop, we still have to bring it up the 2.5 to 3 feet. So what it is actually a dual purpose here. We are filling the site, but we're also using that fill as a cap, which is also considered engineering controls.
Over and above any membrane covering that you will
That's
use.
correct. That's correct.
Yes, Mr. Prevotel.
Curious about the contaminants. One would hope that the arsenic is no longer leaching into that region, but I'm curious about the fecal matter. I would think that would break down, would be less detectable if there was not active contamination. The fact that there is, does this mean that there is some active contamination? And obviously you've done test borings. Are they located at the perimeter where one might be able to find that, hey, there's a concentration here and maybe we should go look in this, across the street or so for an active leak of some sort?
Well, to answer that question, I think apart from Biscayne Landings, the one of the second most tested site is the rocks is this site. The fecal plume has been identified based on borings and based on the depth of testing that we did. Okay. And it's sort of concentrated in one area. There are several utility lines traversing the site. There's a 48-inch force main that comes through the site, which goes into the Miami-Dade County Pump Station 346. The city of North Miami also has two 12-inch force mains, a 12-inch force main and an 8-inch force main going through the site as well. So there's a multitude of sanitary sewer lines traversing the site. At any one time, if there was a break or any sort of rupture in these lines, this could also lead to high levels of fecal contamination. So it's not attributable to just one source. The other thing to take into consideration is that this site used to be an old wastewater treatment facility. In the early 60s, I believe it was abandoned in the 70s when Miami-Dade County took over all the treatment systems in the county. So again, it cannot be attributed to just one source of contamination, but it could be to several sources, whether it's the wastewater treatment plant or whether it was a force main rupture. So there's more than one area that could have led to the contamination with fecal.
It sounds like it's active. Sounds like one or more pipes going through there probably has some sort of crack.
Well, and that's one of the things we looked at as well. There are vaults there, and then, Miami-Dade County has huge vaults for those two 48-inch force mains coming into the site, which cuts diagonally across the site as well. So, all these are being looked at by our environmental consultant.
Okay, thank you.
Are we going to have these pipes relined as part of preventive measures? Or are we going to put any cameras into these pipes to do a more thorough study for cracks or leakage or ruptures?
On the city's utility, which is the two force mains traversing the site, sections of those force mains and the gravity system has already been replaced. So those sections that are on the site that belongs to the city have been replaced. The complete gravity system that goes into the site has been replaced, I believe it's like about 8 years ago, completely. It's a 36-inch gravity line that comes into the site, and that was replaced by contracted forces that the city had out.
What about the county's pipe?
The county's pipe, we have been in negotiation. I believe when the CRA has had the property, they were in constant contact with WASA, and they were talking to WASA about evaluating the integrity of their piping as well.
Yes, well, it's so nice. Talk is cheap. What kind of studies and hard data was ever actually produced?
Again, it's something that I'll have to follow up with Miami-Dade County on.
I would hope, because it's pointless to put $4.5 million into the project if the county pipe is highly suspect.
Agreed.
Yeah, but actually, good news. The federal government is forcing change.
Correct.
And it's happening. So Miami-Dade County was sued in federal court, and all that is being actually they're compelled to replace the aging
infrastructure,
pipelines.
But not in anybody's lifetime. They can be compelled to do it, but when? That's the question.
Can we assume that the more permanent structures, the infrastructure that's going in there, is not going directly over the particular lines that are transversing the site?
Yes, Miami-Dade County, this is one of the requirements that they have for the development of the site, is that nothing within the easements of these pipes, no permanent structures can be built along the easements or on the easements where these
our
lines are.
surface investment there,
Correct.
If they need to dig it all up, would not be a great loss if it was dug up.
Yeah, the reason why we're trying to do the design and sort of, I would say, bring in the engineering controls together with the park details is actually to have some sort of symmetry, engineering control, design of the parks and everything, so sort of, meet the requirements, but still we will have everything that is required from the GOB funding.
How many acres are we talking about for this?
I believe it's a little over 5 acres, if I'm not mistaken.
4.7.
4.7.
Yeah, with the swales, which is a large swale area along 138th Street, altogether from right-of-way line to right-of-way is just a little over 5 acres.
All right. Any other questions on this?
And just while we're talking size, the facility, the $4.2 million facility, any idea about what size that is? Square footage or?
That's
for all including all the amenities? I don't have that.
Structure itself.
Just the building? No, because we have it as a design build, which we include the amenities that we would like to see. It is for the architects and the designers to come back and propose different square footage, as long as they can meet the requirements that we are asking. If I'm asking for a basketball, multi-purpose facility, a splash pad, and a parking lot with a playground, they have an opportunity to develop or design the way that park would sit, where the basketball courts would go, where the multi-purpose building would go, and where the field, where the playground, and where the parking lot. So that design can change depending on the actual designer or developer and their architect, how they have that. We give them the parameters of how the square footage that we have and the amenities that we want to see on the site.
Can I ask, as part of the program, I wish we had done this with the PAL facility, rather than just sort of giving a grant. I wish we had a common facility, common space that they would then use with sort of offices around it. So different nonprofits could have an office space and put their supplies there, but they could at different times use the general space. Would this facility have any opportunity to have sort of some smaller closeted areas or small offices so that different agencies could possibly take better advantage of the facility?
At this time, I don't have those answers for you. I will have to look into that, but from
Might be
my
something to
understanding,
consider.
I'm
and
not sure
even
that
if they
we
were just
have that.
rented to the various agencies so that they would have a, it would be a way of them having some security and some sense of presence and a better appreciation of the property, possibly.
Typically, from Parks and Rec, we don't necessarily rent out our space or our facilities because it is Parks and Rec. That's more of a CRA or development,
Right.
type of
And again-
misusage.
All right,
Yeah.
Okay. thank
let's try to move on. Yes, Gene, go ahead.
Regarding the contamination,
Sure.
will you have a plan of action once you receive the consultant result?
Sure, as soon as we get the well, we are working with the consultants right now on Durham. Miami-Dade also has already, we met with them about a month and a half ago, and basically they are ready for us to move on with the project. If we implement all the engineering controls, as I mentioned, the monitoring wells, location of the wells off-site, to monitor the plume, if the plume is actually traveling off-site, the ammonia, we're going to be addressing that, and also the arsenic by capping the whole site. If all of those are sort of synthesized in the design or the conceptual design to meet all these requirements, then the design will be moving forward. There is no conceptual as yet. All we did is, as Derek is saying, we have a list of items that we are trying to put on the site, together with all the engineering controls that we have. The proposed consultant will be given the engineering controls and what we want on the site, and sort of synergize everything and come up with a conceptual plan for us to start looking at.
All right.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, let's move on.
Thank you.
Can we go to page 24 and do the technology section next?
Sure. 24, technology.
So it's parts
And
done.
you might not have any questions, but if you do, we'll let Ricardo answer the questions because Aline might be here for a while. He has a lot of projects here.
Yes,
Thank you.
I can imagine.
Good evening,
Good
Ricardo
evening.
Castillo, IT manager. So if you scroll to
Well,
page,
effectively, we're buying a lot of computers.
yes. The average lifetime of a computer is between 3 and 4 years. So what the technology office has been trying to do is get into the habit of cyclically replacing those computers, to comply with all the different softwares that come out. As different software or different operating systems come out, we have to upgrade the hardware as well. That not happened for a couple of years, so we're really behind when it comes to replacing a lot of the systems. We currently have a 3-year lease where we were able to upgrade upwards of 100 computers, but as you can see from the plan, we have between 225 desktops and we have 110 laptops, which is why, if you scroll to page 26, one of my next capital projects request is the replacement of laptops that we utilize in our police department. These laptops were acquired back in 2010 when we initially had bought the police CAD and RMS system as well as their mobile system, and they are in dire need of replacement. Those laptops are very old, and because of the usage, since the officers have to dock them and undock them from their police car when they go back to the office, they are basically falling apart. So we need to replace those, and that's why we had to put this additional capital project, because in the case of the police laptops, they're upwards of 2,200 each, and we need 105 of them. That's because that's the rugged laptop and the mount included in there. Our next item is for switch replacement. The switches are basically the core of the network here, and they haven't been replaced in a while. Most of them are over 5 years old, and with the recent upgrade we did a year and a half ago with our voice over IP system, has become more of a problem, so we like to replace those as well. And the last one, most of it already took place in this year, so there's some maintenance costs associated with it, which is basically the virtualization of servers and software updates, which is taking advantage of new computing power. And instead of having to buy, like before, we used to have 17 servers. Instead of to having to buy 17 new servers, what we did is we bought 4 really good ones, and we're taking advantage of computing power to have those 4 servers act like if they were 17.
Okay.
So.
All right, that's good. Okay, we understand that.
Question?
One question, Mr. Prevotel.
Yeah, regarding the laptops, which is a fairly large number, 230,000. Did you say that was all leased equipment, or?
No, the laptops are not leased equipment. Only the only equipment that is on a 3-year lease is 100 desktops that were mostly used to replace in City Hall, Community Planning and Development, Building, and Parks and Recreation. We didn't have enough to cover the whole city. Neither we had enough to cover the administration portion of PD, which we have about 50 users over there that are still running on very old equipment, the administrative staff, and then the police officers.
Okay, so that figure would be generally a purchase. The equipment would be purchased.
Yes, that one is actually a purchase.
Okay, hopefully we can get maybe a longer life, maybe better value out of it. Question is, as we're replacing these units, even though they may be beaten up in terms of having a vital police force, what happens to the used equipment once it gets excessed?
That will go to the purchasing office where they will be surplused.
Okay, so hopefully that we might be able to either sell them or pass them on to kids in our area or the library or someplace to use them within our community?
At that point, I think that will be something that, I'm not sure, Mr. Galdas, if that has to go to the council for donation.
As a point of order, any equipment that's no longer being used by the city, if it has a value in excess of $25,000, is surplused, and that entails sale by auction or a donation to a needy organization. So it's a call for the city council, the mayor and the city council.
Okay, it'd be nice to see it implemented within the community somehow.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next department head.
The next one will go with the library, and we'll have Lucia come up and give her, if you have any questions regarding the library.
Sure.
And the $1 million that we're spending there, Lucia will discuss that. The $1 million was part of the Progress
Give us the
2013
page,
projects.
please. Give us the page.
Page number 11.
Page 11. All right, $1 million.
Yes. This was part of the Progress 2013 money. That was the Biscayne Landing money that the community did vote and determine which projects we would do. This is where this $1 million came from.
And what are we getting for our $1 million?
Lucia Gonzalez, Library Director. The library, it has been almost 30 years since the library has had any major refurbishing or remodeling. Reconfiguration, which is what we plan to do of the internal space, will open up that space to accommodate more seating, which is much needed. As you know, we are across the street from the high school, the middle school, the elementary school, and per door count, we get an average of 27,000 visits per month. That's the average. And so we will open up the space and add seating space. We will modernize the feel and look of the library. The furnishings, if you walk into a library, they're falling apart. We have the chairs that used to be chairs are now the metal folding chairs that were used in the program room. We have had to use them to accommodate the patrons' needs, as the chairs have broken beyond any repair. The upgrades need to be addressed as required, also to meet the 40-year recertification. We had an asbestos studies. We've had all different kinds of reports, so all that will be addressed. The lighting of the library, if you go to the libraries, you see that you can hardly read the spines of the books because there's not sufficient lighting. So we will address all the lighting needs, internal and external, of the library. Change the carpeting and the floors. That carpet is over 20 years old and not appropriate for public traffic. So we will replace it with durable floors that will be more simple to keep and durable. So that's basically the project.
All right, very nice. Thank you very much.
Actually, I have a question.
Yes, one question.
Any technology upgrades?
Yeah.
Well, recently, with as of January 2012, the library replaced all the old computers. We have 20 brand new computers at the library for public use. We have a brand new circulation system, and we have wireless at the library. As a matter of fact, the library was the first in the city to have wireless, and the policy that you accept now, it was researched and implemented by the library. So we have always been in the vanguard of technology. Right, Ricardo?
Yeah, I must say your staff is very courteous. I was studying last year for a test, and I would go there, and everyone was very nice. And I didn't take a look at the computers because I brought in my own, but I just want to know if you guys had your technology. But you guys do a great job there.
In the new reconfigured space, there will be space for patrons to come and bring their own laptops with connections all over the library for people to use their tablets, their laptops. And in the future, in the near future, I hope to bring laptops, just like our neighbors, the Miami-Dade Public Library and Broward County Libraries, lent out laptops for patrons to use in the library. That's a great need for our community.
Did you say, I think there are 20 new workstations? Is that the total number that you have in place right now, 20? Which seems like a low number in respect to the library that gets a lot of use. Any chance you could make good with some 4-year-old laptops and some other equipment once it becomes available? I mean, or does that become more of a hassle?
Well, it depends, and I don't know how the IT department can accommodate the old technology with the new one. Our patrons are very sophisticated users, especially the students, and have high needs in the new technologies and softwares and so on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, better to have a 4-year-old one than none at all. But
Exactly,
just a thought.
especially for the kids and the younger
Yeah.
ones. We always welcome, the library,
young
as
kids,
you
yeah.
know, we always welcome whatever we get.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get that arranged.
All
before they
right.
get access.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Sori, who's next?
The next project, we're going to go to page 13, the replacement of the high vac unit, just because the police chief is here. Their chillers, both of their chillers are actually pretty old. We're actually replacing one of them this year to the tune of about $80,000. It looks like it's about to go down now, so we are going to replace it. And this is within the last 3 weeks we made this decision, so the books were already far on the way. That's why you don't see it on this page. But we are budgeting to replace the other chiller next fiscal year.
Basically, this is the central air conditioning system.
Yes, the air conditioning system, yes.
You said the chiller that you're replacing right now is $80,000.
I believe it's like $80,000. That's our estimate of what it's going to cost.
So then you only have $20,000 left for next year.
No, we're going to do $100,000 next year. The 14-15 is for next year's budget. This year we're paying $80,000 out of the current funds.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I think I got that.
What's that for?
The chiller.
No, if we're saying that the 80,000 is for the current chiller,
Yes. Well, no, out of the current budget, the 13-14, there's nothing budgeted right now. Under the 13-14 column, that's the fiscal year we're in now. The chillers just have begun to give us a problem right now, so we're going to replace them with current funds.
14, 15. Okay.
So the $100,000 we're going to be budgeted in the future next year to replace the other chiller. So that is separate money, different years, different fiscal years.
Okay, 2 chillers.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Chief Burgess. Thank you very much for coming. See, this was easy. You didn't even have to go to the microphone. There you go. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll do John O'Brien with the transportation projects, or Arlene will discuss the transportation projects now. So we will, yes, sir, Mr. Arlene.
Give us a page site.
We'll start on page 29.
29, all right. Let's try to keep this, give us the overview, all right? We don't want to beat these all to death.
Actually, the Arch Creek bike path, the bridges, we have 2 bridges, which is on the southern portion of 135th Street. The city did, receive a grant to install a bike lane. And as part of the completion for this project, it's the installation of two pedestrian bridges, or footbridges as they're called, over these 2 waterways connecting the FIU bike path in a nutshell, that's what we are doing. Installation of 2 footbridges.
All right. Next item.
Next.
City wayfinding, that's, I believe, Tanya's signs. She could give you more of a detail on that.
All right, Tanya.
This is on page 31. And the city embarked on a wayfinding program back in 2011. And we've installed over 74 city signs, city-owned signs. You may have seen them throughout the city. They're gateway signs, directional signs, parking lot signs, public facility signs. It's comprehensive in nature that all the signs have similar colors, similar design to tie together a uniform system of wayfinding throughout North Miami. It's one of the few cities, I should say one of 2 cities in the entire county that has a wayfinding system. Miami Beach has one, North Miami is the second. So we're very excited about that wayfinding program. We've gotten several calls from other cities asking how they too can have the image of what North Miami has created in this wayfinding program. We're wrapping up the program itself. We're towards the end. We have a couple signs that are remaining in the permitting process in FDOT, but pretty much most of the sign locations have already been installed. So the balance that you see here is really just to complete the process.
Well, thank you. Those signs are beautiful. They really are a fine addition to the city.
Okay.
All right, next item.
Page 32, the citywide capital improvements. I'm sure all of you were aware during our budget process, the council did identify $780,000 to do additional capital improvements throughout the city, throughout the year. That's what this project is, and it is just, we just listed the $780,000, and we're doing projects as they come up. As Aleem identifies projects that need to be done, or the council members have projects that need to be done. Maybe it's broken sidewalks, street traffic circles. This is where this money comes from for us to do projects as the council sees fit.
Okay.
Would this,
Yeah.
quick question, would this include the complete landscaping budget for additional trees, street trees?
No.
No, sir. No.
It would not. Okay. So just in looking through it, I'm hoping that we're going to have some line items for plantings. If we make the investment now, we'll be able to see it have a bigger return, a couple of years down the line, and just hoping that that's earmarked someplace.
Right.
And it doesn't just sort of slip by and, we lose attention to it.
Does Parks and Rec plan to plant additional trees in the city this year, or just handle replacement of some
No,
of this
well, we
dead?
do have a small tree, let me answer it.
We do have some tree plantings that is scheduled for District 3 as a part of the $1.5 million allocated to District 3. Tree plantings would be done. Yeah.
Next page.
We will be doing some, we actually started already. Some of the plants are in, and we would be doing some additional landscaping in areas along the Memorial Highway pocket parks that is proposed. And there will be also tree planting as part of the overall improvement for District 3.
Okay. Just for clarification, the Parks Department actually is responsible for plantings within the park perimeters, correct? Within
Correct.
the park grounds. But Public Works handles the trees that are elsewhere on
All the,
streets and
actually,
boulevards?
with the restructuring, Public Works is handling all the right-of-way trees and all the maintenance of the right-of-ways and trees presently. So
The tree planting.
As you go through the city, you notice that there are a number of streets with a number of gaps, trees that have
That are
fallen,
missing,
have been
correct.
damaged over
Yes.
the years, and it'd be nice if we could fill in those as a starting point, as well as then building up from there. But there are
again,
a
on
number of
availability of budgets and funding, we are going to try to meet those needs.
gaps. Great.
As a point of order, the city also has a tree mitigation program which is funded by folks that damage trees or cut them without a permit. So it's funded through those types of violations, and those trees are replanted throughout the city.
Okay, that's
So that's just an additional funding, and it's variable.
good.
Mr. Provitel, I'll let Derek explain to a grant that we recently got regarding trees also.
Super.
Good to see you all again. Derek Corker, Parks and Rec Manager, City of North Miami. We did receive some funding from the Community Urban Forestry Grant this year that we are attempting to tag at least 3,000 plots within the city that need replacements of trees. That's the first step. That's phase one. Phase two would be, as Mr. Gotti did state that we will then be replacing those. We're looking at trees that are over 8 feet in length to tag up to 3,000 of those allocated locations that may have been missing due to vandalism, accidents, or tree diseases that may have caused trees to die off. So we did receive roughly $30,000 this year that we will be utilizing.
Fantastic.
And we'll also add that to this book as well. That's an oversight on our part.
Great.
All right, thank you very much. Next item.
Page 34, the downtown revitalization / beautification project. I'll let Tanya speak on that one. Well, it's actually $300,000. I can't speak on it.
John O'Brien has updated information on that and can give an overview.
Hello, John O'Brien, Public Works. This $300,000 is essentially all the money that we have left over in the transportation surtax. We wanted to put it towards the downtown. We have projects already identified for up to about $650,000, so this doesn't quite cover it all, but that's as much as we have, and we hope to get that supplemented with CRA funds as the time goes. We actually have currently about $108,000, which is being used as a matching grant for some trees that we may be able to plant downtown, but most of this is for a wish list for any downtown improvements which will come up.
All right, next item.
Next item will be number 35. This is the installation of transit shelters. This is actually to erect 5 new shelters this fiscal year in various locations throughout the city.
That's correct.
We don't get 5 bus benches isn't very much, is it?
No, it's not really, but anything, they're shelters actually, so.
Right.
And it's
fancy bus benches.
correct.
Yeah.
Covered bus benches.
Covered bus benches, yes. How many would we need hypothetically if we were to do
John, how
the
many
city?
we have altogether? It's 140, and this is only 5. I think initially we installed about 25. 29 installed already.
Oh, so in about 30 more years we'll
catch up.
We'll catch up.
Yes.
Yeah.
We pick high ridership. Yeah.
Well, that gives me a goal to live longer just to see that get done.
And we hope you do, sir.
Yeah, I do too. Oh, 5. Well, I understand. It's not the best year. All right. We hope we get them done. Very good.
We're going to go to number 36, roadway median and curbs, 50,000. Alim will speak on that one.
36?
36, yes.
Yeah, again, this is, I wouldn't say a drop in the bucket, is a minimal amount to do improvements. Reflectors, we have traffic circles or traffic calming devices that we install throughout the city and different areas of the city. This funding is actually targeted to do areas along the Northeast 3rd and 4th Avenue corridor to do traffic calming devices along those corridors. Since it's a highly traveled area, there's schools and churches in that area, we are looking at installing some traffic calming speed tables, speed humps, and potentially maybe a traffic circle as well.
All right, thank you. Next item.
Next item is going to be page 37, sidewalk installation. This is basically the same thing. However, when you couple it with $780,000, and then with the money that was actually allocated for District 3, then we do have a decent amount of money to do sidewalks. Of course, it's not enough, but we're going with, as we're budgeting the funds we can find and locate.
Sure. Okay. Next item.
Next item, number 38, street resurfacing.
Chairman, may I?
I'll let Alim speak on.
Do real quick. Public Works is doing all that now. We have no outside contractors.
The
doing
street
any of the-
resurfacing program, sorry?
No, the sidewalks.
The sidewalks.
Sidewalks, the 100,000, most of the 100,000 is done with in-house staff. $100,000 is really a drop in the
Right.
bucket because with the sidewalk studies that have been done internally by staff, we require approximately $4.5 million to cover all the broken sidewalks
Right.
and all the areas that has no sidewalks within the city, within the municipal boundaries. So 100,000 again, it's, you know,
So
we
public
tackle the
works-
areas that are really in need and sections that have been uplifted by trees. Anything that is above 1 inch and does not meet the ADA requirement is what we go out and target
Right,
to reduce the liability on the city.
right. Okay, yeah, I live on 130th and walk
And
on my daily jog. 131st had that problem, and there, I noticed that it was Public Works. That's why I raised the question. I did not know that our Public Works was in fact doing all the work. So if they have other projects, they have to leave that and go and.
that's
and-
correct.
and do the
Well,
other
yeah,
projects.
most of the, we do have a small staff that actually do sidewalk maintenance and sidewalk repairs and installation.
But they still have to do something else.
They do have streets repairs as well as curbing and all of that. So, it's the nature of doing business in public works right now. You have to
Right.
do more with less, really.
All right, thank you.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Sari, next.
The next one, we're going to continue to page 38, street resurfacing. This is the annual amount we budget every year, $250,000 to resurface our roadways in areas where we do projects at also.
Actually, yeah, we normally have $300,000, but the Office of Management and Budget took away $50,000 this year. So, but he reduced my budget by $50,000 to do street resurfacing. What it is, streets are normally resurfaced within we do something called a PMS study, which is a pavement management study on the streets. Based on the ridership, the number of vehicles, and the deterioration of the pavement, we normally go out and start milling and resurfacing. The 200,000 has identified certain areas based on a priority list that was done by our consultants. So the next set of streets are going to be done with this 250,000.
Have you heard anything from the Department of Transportation? Is there any timeline on when they may get around to 125th Street being resurfaced? Hopefully soon.
125th?
Yeah, our main corridor? 'Cause it's starting
There
to
are
look like-
sections of it being done right now from, you know, coming, not 125th, sorry, 135th. 125th, there are sections from Biscayne Boulevard heading to the West Dixie intersection. The timeline is actually is undecided because due to information that the Florida Department of Transportation and us had going back and forth, the project might have been shelved for another 2 years.
Okay.
Not encouraging. Thank
Not
you.
encouraging, sorry.
Yes, Mr. Prevotel.
If I may share an experience that I had a couple years back in our neighborhood. I regularly run, walk, and have bicycled in our neighborhood streets, and sometimes even rollerblading, and I know that the conditions. And I was kind of surprised that a few years back that they were removing the top layer and resurfacing the entire area of the entire neighborhood. And I had spoken to the foreman and said, like, why are we doing this? Who then explained, well, we have X amount of money for the far east side, for the middle, and for the west side, and we have to sort of spend it. I wasn't too thrilled with that, and my reaction was, you know, please get out of here, go to a neighborhood that really needs it, because
No.
my neighborhood did not need it. And in the process, I'd also pointed out there were a number of areas that there were areas where the water was, you know, gaps, a ponding, large amount of ponding. They went through the whole effort of resurfacing, and none of the ponds have
Right.
mitigated. And they really could have been. If someone had just gone out earlier and marked off after a rainstorm and said, you know, with, you know, a spray can, and just marked that off. Instead, we went through this whole thing, and we have like a zero gain in the end of it. And it just
Right.
seems like, hopefully going forward, that every time we go into resurface, that they study it in advance.
Correct.
And make the improvements, because we have enough drainage problems as it is.
It is, and point well taken.
So, and hopefully it'll be an area that really needs it as most needed basis.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The next one, we will go to page 39, traffic calming supplies and installations. And we'll let Aline.
Again, over the years, we had, recently been installing a lot of traffic calming devices, speed humps, speed tables. This is another source. This is the half-cent surtax to do installation of speed humps along the residential corridors, especially around some of our schools.
All right, next item.
Next item, we're going to go to page 41. This is vehicle replacement. The verbiage here does say stormwater for the division, but actually this is stormwater and water and sewer vehicles. During, of course, our downtime, we held off on purchasing vehicles for a while just to manage to stay afloat. Now the time has come. I know we had Progress 2013. We budgeted $1 million for vehicles. This is continuing along that lines. We're going to replace some vehicles in stormwater and water and sewer. Our council did budget $250,000 towards our fleet reserves to start purchasing additional vehicles also. And over the course of the next couple of years, we will have our fleet reserve build back up to start making vehicle purchases and get back on track.
All right, very good, thank you. Next item.
Next item, we'll go to page 43. Keystone Bridge, water main replacement. And Aleem will discuss that one.
Actually, yeah, this is Keystone Bridge number 2. We have, there's 2 water mains, actually, a 4-inch diameter main and an 8-inch diameter main, actually, which feeds the island. Presently, one of the 8-inch water main shows signs of deterioration. Based on an inspection that was done about 2 months ago, there's spitting on the line. It's a ductile iron pipe, and due to the exposure to the saltwater environment, it's actually showing signs of pitting, and we are scheduling to replace that line within the next month.
All right, thank you.
Is there any redundancy for supplying that neighborhood since it's an island or a series of islands?
Yeah, that's correct. We do have a redundancy in the system. There's an 8-inch that is looping the island coming across Coronado Drive. That is a submerged line that line has also been repaired and is functioning. So the system is looped. If one of the lines is shut down, the only thing you will experience is a drop in pressure, but the island will still be serviced for water.
Right. Thank you.
Contingencies are taken care of.
That's exactly what I need.
We'll go to number 44, water line replacement. This is actually an annual replacement schedule that we have. We have $300,000 for Aleem to replace water lines and fix cracks and leaks. I'll let him go into greater detail.
Again, with the aging infrastructure that we have, most of the pipes that the utility owns is over 40 years old, and we're in the process of identifying areas where the piping material is several breaks or several ruptures over the past years, and we are scheduling areas based on a model that was done to replace complete sections of piping or just install brand new piping and actually abandon the old pipes in place. This $300,000 is actually budgeted for that.
All right, thank you.
Number 45, water meter replacement.
Most of the water meters that we have in our system are around 15 to 20 years old. Water meters do lose their accuracy anytime over a 10-year period. Anything that has mechanical moving parts in it loses the accuracy with the amount of sensitive parts that they have in the device itself. So with the direction of the mayor and council, actually they want to push this project to replace all the water meters within the city within the next 1.5 to 2 years. We have been to Tallahassee. We have secured tentatively some funding to do a portion of the water meter replacement. Hopefully we could get the additional funding to do all of it, which includes 22,000 water meters within our utility.
In whose favor is the discrepancy? In the favor of the city or in favor of the customer?
I know you were going to ask a question like that. Actually, if you think that the meter that you have is not reading right, we do have what is called a test bench at the utility office. We actually take out the meter, we test it in front of the customer, and if it's not reading right, you do get a credit for it.
Thank you.
Mr. Each.
All right, next item.
Number 46, the line softening water plant. This is an ongoing
This is
project.
the Winston Water Treatment Plant.
Winston Water Treatment Plant,
This was just before us 2 months ago.
I believe the whole project was presented to this commission or the planning council 2 months ago.
In the Board of Adjustment.
And the Board of Adjustments, and it was overwhelmingly voted on.
Okay, well, we know about that. All right, anything else to come before us?
Yes,
Number 7.
Yeah, we're going to go back to page 7. We did skip a couple of them just to get some of the other people out. So we're going to go back to page number 7, City Hall repairs and improvements. This was, again, Progress 2013 money, and the mayor and council did allocate $600,000 to do some repairs at City Hall. I'll let Aline go into detail with them.
Again, this is, as Lucia said with the library, this is actually the 50-year recertification done on the building. The building is actually 51 years old. They have several pieces of mechanical and electrical. Actually, we just replaced all of the electrical panel in the building. Some of the systems, some of the actual breakers, the electrical breakers, it took me 6 months to order them and just keep them in stock. So what we did, there was a complete change out on the electrical system. And also air quality study was done on the whole building. Due to some of the deficiencies, we have redone some of the mechanical and the plumbing systems in the building as well. All of these were identified in the 50-year recertification, and all of these are being taken care of. Hopefully, within the next 2 months, all the work should be completed.
All right, thank you. Next item.
Number 8, page 8, I'm sorry, Mocha building expansion. You'll note there's nothing budgeted for 13-14 or 14-15. And we recently had it come up for vote and it did not pass. We tried to go out for to do bond. However, we did put this in. Like I said, if there's grant opportunities available, we need to have this in our plan. We're getting ready to do downtown redevelopment, and we might incorporate this if it's the mayor and council's wishes to incorporate Mocha building expansion in the downtown redevelopment. So we do have it listed here in year 15-16. To do maybe some studies, and then 16-17 for the actual building. So that's why the project is here, but there's no money funded over the next 2 years for it.
There is no money funded for this?
No money funded.
Okay, yeah,
So that's a wish list.
Well, I'm not going to say a wish list because with the downtown redevelopment, it's most likely it might happen.
Let me just go back to the Public Works Director. We're talking about City Hall repairs and improvements. Now, if we have our downtown redevelopment, isn't there a very good possibility that the City Hall will be included in that, and the City Hall is gone, and we're going to be getting a new one?
There's a possibility,
Okay,
yes.
I mean, do we have a timeline on that? I mean, if what I'm saying is, I guess we're going to go out for a bond issue or what have you, and why do we want to spend, what are we looking at? We're looking at spending $600,000.
We are right now going through the process of looking at the whole downtown redevelopment. We had to spend the $600,000 because we were in violation of a lot of stuff inside City Hall.
If I may clarify, the expenses that we're incurring right now are directly related to Miami-Dade County's requirement for a recertification.
Okay.
Building, when the building reaches its first 40 years, you have to go through a certification, plumbing, electrical, structural. Then
you did the 50-year research.
well, because after that, then it's every 10 years.
Right.
So we have to, we're occupying the building, we have to do it. It's Miami-Dade County. Has to be done by, in accordance with the Florida Building Code.
I guess what I'm just looking at, and I'll be very brief on it, is if we're going to knock the building down, say, a year and a half, why spend $600,000 on it if we're going to put up a new structure? That's my point, but I understand what you're saying. We have
very
to spend
important
it.
point.
No ifs, ands, and buts. You got it.
But as long as it is a public building and is occupied by by employees,
I got you. You don't have to be.
I do have to maintain a certain level of,
Got you.
So your breakdown came up to about 600,000 or so.
Well, again, yeah. It's going to be less than that, actually. There's the money budgeted here was 600,000. One of the things we didn't talk about was the roofing. The roof is over 25 years old.
Because that can be significant in itself.
Yeah. So it is, we're going to be like running around 400,000 with all the replacements or repairs that we are doing.
By the way, the fines from Miami-Dade County in not complying will probably exceed the $600,000.
If we didn't,
Right.
if we didn't comply with
They're that
some of
big.
I got you. Yeah,
All right.
it's,
Yeah.
I think